That's what you get for loving me. That's what you get for loving me.
Greetings from Castle Goring, from Mickey, Aurora, and from me. Well, today has not been quite as warm as it looked as if it would be. So I am bundled up, having expended too much energy on trying to keep warm by force of will. So without further ado, I am going to plunge in by making an announcement. To those of you who are interested, we are going to have 3 Sunday afternoons with Lady C at Castle Goring. That's the name of the occasion. One is going to be on the 20th of July. The next is going to be on the 24th of August. And the next is going to be on the 14th of September from 4 to 8 p.m. People arrive at 4. They're given a glass of something sparkling or a soft drink. They are welcome to use the grounds and mill around, enjoy themselves, walk around, whatever, till 5 o'clock, when between 5 and 5:45 is going to be the first part of the one-woman show that I sometimes do throughout the country. Then there's going to be a break for half an hour, and I'm going to return for the second half, where I normally have a question and answer session, and I encourage people to be as indiscreet as they would like to be. Much more fun, but obviously we don't want them getting too carried away. So but everybody's normally very respectful, and I actually sometimes have to encourage people to come on, be a little bit more incisive. And the third one is going to be on the 14th of September, and the show after 7 o'clock to 8 o'clock, people again have a chance to mill around, have a drink, whatever. So hopefully people are going to enjoy it. It's a way of opening the place up to the public, and also to earn a little revenue to keep the wolf from the door. So those of you who are interested, it's going to be posted on the channel from now on. So without further ado, let me plunge in with what Susan Scherer has to say. Because, of course, we're living in very exciting times, although I gather not everybody is as, shall we say, enraptured by the world's reaction to I'm going to twerk and I'm going to twerk and I'm going to show you what it's like to be in labor. I'm in labor. What I'm laboring with is something else again. Come on, H, let me give you what makes you happy. And twerk, twerk, tweak, tweak. Oh. Hasn't it had an unexpected bashing? Do you think this baby bump is too low? Do you think I should have it right under my chin? Or, oh no, let's do it Meganian. Let's do it Meganian. Mid-bust. Oh, I forget. I have to keep on holding it up because it's liable to slip down. Maybe even to beneath one's knees. Well, as Susan Scherer says, It would not surprise me if Meghan sees both pregnancy scandals as well as most of her life as her greatest acting role, and the world is her stage. Very interesting observation. Narcissists need attention. They have a gift for creating attention. They have the ability to enter a room and suck every bit of oxygen out of it so that they are the only person who is going to be gaining sustenance from their environment. Everybody else is fodder. I think, Susan Scherer, you are onto something. I actually gather that she is very distressed at the reaction because she thought that she was going to be able to silence once and for all the speculation about her malignancies. And the bigger the better. I mean, why not be the octuplet mother? And so, and also, I mean, towels are available, moon bumps are available, baby bumps are available. As the Jamaicans would say, batty enhancers are available, posterior enhancers. Batty in Jamaican is posterior. I rather like the word batty. I think it's rather sweet. And she's certainly getting all the attention she requires. But let's remember, this is not only about attention. This is about attention with the object of making money. Except it's backfiring gloriously, because my understanding is that Netflix is not exactly thrilled by this latest development. Now, Ted Sarandon's wife is a woman who is going to be far too dignified to behave the way Meghan has behaved. So if Meghan thinks all the sisters are going to be looking out for her and say, oh yes, be as raw as possible, be as common and vulgar and obscene and decadent and unseemly and undignified as possible, because that's what black people do. No, it's not, Megsy baby. Not even your 20-something% of black is going to actually, or 30-something%, is, and it's certainly not 43%, is you are so misguided as to what black culture is, as the president of Nigeria's wife pointed out to you. Most women in Nigeria, and I think we can substitute black women for Nigerian women, have dignity, something you lack. But you notice in that giveaway, because it really is a total giveaway, when Meghan squats down, when she does the, what's it called, this slut split or some such thing, slut drop, and bounces back up. You know, did you see the thighs? No weight gain of any consequence. Arms, no weight gain of any consequence. Legs, no weight gain of any consequence. All 65 pounds were in the padding. Oh, sorry, my mouth slipped. All 65 pounds are in the enhanced batty and the enhanced belly. Then, of course, there is the question of the canula which is in the wrong place. She's not in a hospital gown. She's supposed to be in the hospital for them to bring on labour. So presumably to induce labour, because that's what usually happens. Twerking doesn't work. And she is supposed to be in the hospital. She has a canula in the wrong place. But she doesn't have a hospital tag. Have you noticed that? She also has on her jewellery. And the room is not a delivery room. The room is not a maternity room. How does that one work? And why is she not in a hospital gown? I mean, you check into the hospital, they do not allow you to keep your clothes on. They don't allow you to flash around without your identification bracelet, the paper tag, a thingy that goes around your arm. Where is that? But they put in a canula. So the beginning isn't the beginning is the middle, because hospitals do things methodically. First step is admission. Second step is, once you're in the room, take off your clothes, put on your hospital gown, get rid of your jewellery. You are already tagged, and then after you're tagged, the treatment starts. Meghan would like us to believe that all those bizarre bumps and crevices and precipices in the belly area were monitors. No, they can't have been monitors, because she didn't have on a tag. The first thing is the tag. It's not the last thing. It's the first thing. Also, if they were going to put on all the monitors, etc., she would be in a hospital gown. And she wouldn't be able to move the way she was moving. I mean, are we expected to believe that they were attached with super glue? Because that's what she hopes we will think. Well, I don't know about you, but I certainly don't think that. Mary Carper says, she was in a hospital when you are waiting. Sorry. When you are waiting for the surrogate to give birth, they give the adoptive parents a room so they can get the baby as soon as it is delivered to bond with the adoptive mother. Thank you for that, Mary Carper. That's my information as well. The room indicates that Meghan was not giving birth. She wasn't about to give birth. The room indicates that Meghan was there as a guest who was going to receive the baby after it was delivered from someone else's body. That's the message. That's what that scenario conveys. It does not convey that Meghan was going to be delivering the baby herself. Maybe DHL was, but not Meg's baby. Sorry. Debbie X6R says, hello, Lady C. Hello. I totally agree with you that perpetrating a false pregnancy and sticking with it would be the height of a con job, and could only be successful in the short term until the perpetrator were found out. But then again, I think of the con job the Democratic Party perpetrated on the USA by passing Joe Biden off as not only competent, but a man full of energy and vitality. So it can be done. But I don't want to get into American politics, if you don't mind. But I think there is little doubt that Joe Biden was nowhere near as competent and nowhere near as a mentis. Let's put it that way, because he really was pretty non-compos mentis, not compos mentis. And right in the full view of the world, this took place for 4 years. So, is it possible that somebody else, possibly even more ambitious and even more brazen, would actually have the unmitigated gall? Well, let's remember, Joe Biden was a president. He was surrounded by staff who were able to function for him. Meghan is the star of the show. Meghan is the author of the production. Meghan is the director. She is the producer. She is the everything. Harry is a sometime bit player. And yes, they do have staff. But if she were so inclined as to perpetrate a tremendous con on the public, would she be able to get away with it? Well, whether she were able to get away with it or not is beside the point. The real point is, would she be so inclined to do it? Now, Meghan has proudly said, I'm such a fraud. And she has been very boastful about the fact that she is very prone to pulling rats out of habits instead of rabbits out of hats. So, sorry. And she, therefore, is it's quite possible that she has, well, it's not possible, it's obvious she has definitely pulled a stunt. Whether it is that she was padding when she was pregnant, or what seems to be accruing a mounting evidence, she wasn't pregnant and she was padding, because there's evidence both ways. And I have to say all of this for legal reasons. The fact of the matter is, she was doing some really pretty dodgy stuff and playing some really nasty games. And she was doing it not only at the royal family's expense and the British people's expense and the Commonwealth's security, and at the Commonwealth's expense. She was also doing it, two fingers to you, Margaret Thatcher victory sign. I'm Megsy Baby, and I say, two fingers to you, Margaret Thatcher victory sign. The woman has the most unmitigated gall, and as she has just proven, she also has not only unmitigated gall, but she has a brass neck and a total lack of dignity and decorum. And that obviously carries over into many other areas. Mercy says, as a nurse, let's give her the benefit of the doubt. The unevenness around her belly could be a fetal monitoring strap. On the other hand, I personally have never seen a mother at 41 weeks move like that. What? You didn't know that a girl who's developed her skills keeps them even as she's pushing out royal babies? You didn't know that? And you're a nurse? Oh, you gotta come to the Montecito and I'll teach you how it's done. Much less, I don't care who you are or how royal you are. I don't think any labour and delivery staff at any hospital is going to even allow that type of behaviour. The mamas that I've taken care of over the years, if they even made it to 41 weeks, could barely walk or move. Most of the time, they don't even make it to 41 weeks because they have a scheduled C-section. Well, according to Meghan also, let's not forget, had postpartum preeclampsia, and there would have been indications of that already. And if she had it with the first baby, they would be very watchful of her having any other symptoms and problems with the next baby, because let us remember, Meghan was a geriatric mother. So let's not forget that. The whole thing is so farcical as to be beyond belief. There's no way that what the message she's giving us is a message we can, in all rationality, receive as reasonable. There's just not. She would like us to believe she is a miracle worker and she is superwoman. Well, she's convinced Harry she's superwoman. She certainly has shown us how she's managed to stun Harry with the moves. Because if she was 41 weeks pregnant and she could move like that and rock that bod the way she was rocking it, can you imagine what she does when she's riding that horse, that stallion? Remember the stallion? She's riding the stallion. Because remember, Harry described himself as a stallion. So there she's riding that stallion. Well, she's shown us that she has a very good seat and that she can move and twist and turn on that saddle and just make sure that that stallion just is thrilled to the core by his... the word rhymes, but it also rhymes with bore, and we'll use bore to actually get the message across. She thinks everybody's stupid. 41 weeks pregnant and no tipping over when she is twerking and going down on her haunches and coming back up, which I am assured by everyone is physically impossible. But we're to believe that Meg's baby did it. But she's certainly unique. Anita Svanepol says, the bump of Meghan's is not a pregnancy bump. It's very badly constructed. Sorry. I have had 3 huge sons and I also work in a labour ward. Well, I don't know anybody who thinks that bump is genuine. So, and as for it having monitoring equipment, I think I addressed that issue not in the last question, but much earlier, that there is no way that she would have been given monitoring equipment while she was in her street clothes. Flipper Flopper says she actually hugged a few people when pregnant. Claire Waite, that's part of the name, but we know who you're speaking about, the girl who was at the designer who was at Givenchy. Claire Waite, when she presented her with the Fashion Award, yes, do you remember? She was either 2 or 3 months pregnant at the time. Wasn't she about this size? She might have been a little bit bigger, but I don't think she was much smaller. I think she was ostensibly 3 months pregnant at the time, because it was in December and the baby was born in May. So it's 9 months. So she was 3 months pregnant. Well, I am not having a whole baby. I'm only having half a baby. And as you can see, I'm working up my way to being 3 months pregnant with a whole baby. And so, do you think I'm big enough? I think maybe I should add a little bit more and become bigger. Maybe I should sort of take a leaf out of Megsy Baby's book. And so she hugged her. But let me read the rest of the sentence, the observation or question though. She hugged her when she presented her with the Fashion Award, and a couple of women when she visited Smartworks and the community kitchen. Now, who would pay attention to how the bump feels when you are meeting a royal in front of the cameras, especially when you don't suspect it might be a moon bump? Well, my understanding is that any hugging she did was not with people who knew her well. She gave up hugging while she was pregnant. And you're absolutely right. Irrespective of what she was carrying, whether it was a load of one sort or another, nobody would have questioned it in a glancing encounter. First of all, people would not have known what to expect, and it would have been so glancing that they would not have, whatever it was, they wouldn't have thought anything odd about it. But that's glancing encounters. Close encounters of another kind, I gather there was a very good reason why Meghan kept her hands at all times running interference between the world and her belly. But your point is well taken, and thank you very much for it. Suzanne Branscombe says, Meghan Markle is good at one thing, getting attention. Yes, she's brilliant at getting attention. Diana Wales was also brilliant at getting attention. And Diana, by and large, got positive attention, although people have forgotten that as she got older and after she left the royal fold and the protection of the royal family, she started to have very mixed responses from the public and the media. People have forgotten that, in the last 5 years of her life, her reputation was far more checkered than it had been while she was within the royal fold. Harry should have actually given that some thought. But Harry seems to have known his mother not at all. By his own admission, he didn't remember her. But surely, on some level, he should have been able to at least have a feel for what the woman had been who had given birth to him. Seems he didn't. Meghan loves attention. She is a genius at getting attention, but she hasn't worked out yet how to get positive attention and avoid negative attention. And the poor me, I'm a victim, and you need to both worship at my altar and at the same time pity me for my hard fate in life is incompatible with admiration and with respect. And it's ultimately people look up to somebody they can admire. They don't look up to somebody they can't admire, but they are supposed to adore and pity at the same time. That's not how it works, except in the mind of somebody who is seriously disordered. Annie Brownell says, this is from the start all on purpose, because Meghan could prove the kids are authentic but refuses to do so. That fact alone should tell us it's all a fraud. I'm beginning to believe it's not mere horrific depravity we are dealing with, but pure evil. You're not the only person who thinks like that. I think we are dealing with somebody who is severely disordered and totally arrogant, overconfident, used to getting away with things and expects that to continue. But it's not continuing. Even though she is not getting the expected punishment for her bad behavior, she's not getting away with it, because every time she pulls a stunt, more and more people call her out louder and louder. That in itself is a consequence. Just because she hasn't been locked up, deprived of her liberty, and deprived of her ability to create the havoc that she creates as she goes around generating attention for herself, doesn't mean that she is not enduring the consequences of her actions, because she is. I mean, how much more adverse a reaction can anybody get than she has got for this ridiculous pregnancy tape? The twerking. I've twerked my baby belly. I've twerked my baby belly. And everybody's gotta know I was pregnant, and I gave birth having gained 65 pounds, all in my belly and on my backside, none on my arms of any consequence or my legs, although you notice she had gained a bit of weight. And people are saying that this video has been done recently. I think that video was done at the time of the birth of the baby, because when women are taking delivery of a baby, they if they wish to breastfeed that baby, they have to take hormones to bring on the milk. And Meghan did gain weight after both those babies were born. And she carried the weight for quite a while. Think of her after Archie's birth, all puffed up and very actually unattractive in the carriage in that navy blue, actually it was more a midnight blue dress I think it was Trooping the Colour. And think of her on the stage in New York in that hideous white mini. On both occasions, she had gained weight. But she didn't gain weight, certainly with Archie, because with Lily, the whole thing took place out of view because of COVID. But with Archie, she definitely gained not an ounce until she was well into 8 months pregnant. And as she has shown on the baby bump video the other day, and as she shows in this twerking video, she didn't really gain any weight of any note on her bust. So that tells you that, at least it tells me, that nature's hormones were not really responsible for the weight gain, and that any lactation that was going to take place was going to kick in after she'd gained that weight. That's all very steroidical, if I think is the word. And it's very, very indicative of somebody who was taking tablets to lactate, I should say drugs to lactate. Who knows? Quite frankly, all I know is when I smell fish, I look around to see which bin they've been thrown into, because fresh fish doesn't stink. Claire Disapia says, Lady C, I have had 4 children, including a set of twins. I wasn't as big as Meghan. Oh, Claire Disapia. How can you be so inadequate? I mean, Meg's baby was huge with only 1 baby, and you had twins and you were smaller. You need to take lessons from Meg's baby in pumping up. So if I may continue, I will stop interrupting myself and being silly. I wasn't as big as Meghan and couldn't see my feet, never mind dance. I'm a tap dancing teacher also. The bump was fake, and I think Meghan was just making sure it was tied tightly, not to fall to her knees again. Birkenhead. She learnt the lessons of Birkenhead. Because, of course, if the timing, that's really where the whole antipathy to the press started. Well, not only could Meghan see her feet, but she could high kick as well. And let's remember, she could do the limbo. She could grind her way down and grind her way back up, and imagine that she was doing the dance of the 7 veils, and that Harry was there getting the full benefit of her as she went down and up, down and up, down and up. And there he was, ostensibly, some people think it wasn't him. I neither know, quite frankly, nor care. But if it was him, he's up to hair in it. And if it wasn't him, why isn't he doing something about it? Solange Mooney says, usually when a person of royal blood marries a commoner, the commoner elevates themselves to a higher social rank. However, in this case, the hoodie dancing prince has become a trailer trash frog. So sad. Solange Mooney, very well put. Well, water seeks its own level. And Harry has always had, which appeared in fact to be a huge part of his charm, he always had the common touch. And people thought it was because he was a regular guy and down to earth. Little did anybody realize it was because he is tasteless and debased and has absolutely no sense of decorum. He used to have a sense of decorum. So Meghan has dragged him down, or has he willingly gone down? Because really, he is spiritually trash as opposed to spiritually elevated. These are questions one needs to ask. Lee Fuller says, I don't believe that was Harry in the hoodie. Many people don't. Many people don't, including friends of mine. They say Harry's too slim. They say Harry's too short. They say Harry's moves too well. Quite frankly, if it is him, he's debased. And if it's not him and he does nothing about it, he's debased. So I will end with what Moonflower says. There's no doubt in my mind that she did this video without Harry's knowledge and then posted it so he'd have to play along, dragging him further down the sewer than he already is. That's a very interesting interpretation, actually, very interesting. And as I've just said, if it wasn't him, he should do something about it. And if it was him, he should still do something about it. But if it wasn't him, and she has got someone else to dance and posted his image, that is something that he could use down the line in a divorce, should it come to that. So that would have been a big mistake that she had made. If indeed that is so, I don't know. And quite frankly, when you're dealing with mad people, it doesn't behoove you to try to figure out absolutely everything. But what is of interest to people is to try to figure out what's truly going on. I give up where that part of it is concerned. To me, it doesn't move me enough, and I don't think it's of sufficient consequence for me to bestir myself to care or bother about whether it's actually Harry or not. What I will say, though, is what I just said. If it's not Harry and she's done it, my goodness, that's a real smoking gun for a divorce action down the line. And I will actually end with one other observation. Mary M. says, the behavior of this pair is totally deranged. No decent, respectable person would act in such a way. He is as complicit in the conspiracy as she. They are shameless. Well, I have to say I agree. I was married to a nutcase who was drug addled and on drink, and so he was both drink addled and drug addled. And admittedly, he turned on me. He didn't turn on anybody else and have me going along with it because he knew I wouldn't have done it. But he turned on me, and I made sure that I amassed the evidence to prove what he was and to vindicate myself, which I did. Harry could do the same thing. Yes, he has 2 children. Yes, he was once in love with her. And my understanding is she's reeled him back in. But when you're dealing with somebody like that, it's like an egg beat in your brain. And if you really don't have many brains, there's not much to beat. But everybody has some brains, so even that is going to be scrambled. And it's going to be much more difficult for him to see his way clear to some sort of denouement that would be a constructive one, because he doesn't have the intelligence. But even an animal has self-protective instincts. And if Harry does nothing and he goes along with all of this, he is complicit. And it has to be said, I cannot see how any man married to a woman having a full personal life with her could be ignorant of and not cognizant of any padding that was taking place. I really don't see it. I honestly don't see it. Of course, there was a musical called Monsieur X, or was it Madame X? It was about, and I think it was based on a true story. It was about this female impersonator who married somebody in China and duped him for several years as to the fact that what he thought was, shall we say, a valley was actually a 3-piece suite. Don't quite know how that one worked, but but it was a famous play. I think it was called Monsieur X. It was a musical, and it was a big hit. I think it was in the 80s. I don't think it was in the 70s. I think it was in the 80s. So who knows? I mean, all of this is just madness. It's absolute madness. Harry, by his own admission, has dabbled heavily in drugs and is clearly drug-addled. And Meghan, by her own account and by her behavior, especially surrounding her marriage to Trevor and the reception in Jamaica, also has a high tolerance for druggy propensities and actually actively encourages them, and certainly encouraged them to the extent that at her first wedding in Jamaica. She was perfectly prepared to break the law and run a risk of going to prison for years, just so that she could show that she was so cool and that she could be a supplier of drugs to everybody. Now that tells you that she also has a high tolerance for drugs. And to me, all of this is very druggy behavior. And on that note, I'll say thank you very much for listening. I hope this has been of some interest to you. Please keep the questions and comments coming in. And I'm going to make one final point, actually. Meghan is, I am told, really worried now about the fact that the walls are closing in on her and that recognition is going to actually possibly lead to revelation. Let's leave it at that. Thank you very much for listening. Please take good care. Godspeed. And if you have truly enjoyed this, would you care to like, share, subscribe, press the notification bell, and a bientôt. Bye-bye.